3 consecutive towers and the inhibitor was impressive.
And they made their own luck. They made their own gap where, even with mistakes like that, they were so much in the driver's seat that there was just no way back into the game for the Dark Wolves. And the fact that they played with comfort in Game 1 makes me wonder, what else do they have in this playbook? Because they need to show something vastly different to even trouble Longjuayan.
Yeah, and there's the GP ban right off the bat with Expression's 8 kills in the last game. You better believe that's not going to be on the table. And the Fiora ban is going to have to come through too, unfortunately, for Dark Wolves, unless they want Expression to get his hands on that champion, and there it is.
It's worrying that Dark Wolves have to ban, specifically the Gangplank on blue. It feels like you need to be able to play that champion, at least from your mid laner or your top laner. It's a flexible champion to some degree. I personally prefer it in the mid lane just because in a short lane you can get away with just that slow farming style, but the fact that neither of them play it to the degree that they have to first ban it on blue is a worry for the drafting phase of Dark Wolves.
What is their last ban going to be? We still have Victor up, we still have Kalista up, we still have Azir up, all of which were banned in the last game, and it will be Elise. I don't know about that. Tucson wasn't very accurate with his cocoons in the last game.
But it does create one of those mismatches where you lock in Elise, and there's just not really a viable answer in terms of equalizing the early skirmish pressure. Elise has a lot of damage. You could maybe argue Lee Sin, but even then, it's a bit of a toss-up. So teams have moved to ban that champion. Kyle draws the expected ban on Azir, and Victor's open. Victor, again, was another hotly contested pick during the Challenger semifinals and final series, and now you at least have that wave clear champion, that reliable champion in the mid. There's just not a lot of answers, but Frozen actually is the main purveyor of see Victor, lock in the Echo.
Yeah, and we could see that come through. We could also just see the Diana again. Nothing stopping that one either, really.
We could also see the Lux that he tried in the last game of the season. Now, if you don't know, fans, very much associated with that champion, Lux, is Frozen. It certainly didn't work in their last game, but they come in such favorites that maybe you bring it out again.
And Dark Wolves, they did pick a lot of blue side Victor in those Challenger playoffs, first picking that champion quite often, but I mean, Kalista, Alistar, pretty much the expected combo. Ignar getting that Alistar once again, and he's been performing on Alistar for a long time this year. It's certainly probably, I shouldn't say certainly probably, it's certainly his best champion. I think there's not really any question about that one.
We're just seeing the rise of Kalista Alistar over, say, Kalista Annie after Annie saw a couple of nerfs. Kalista Annie was definitely the go-to back in spring season. Now Kalista Alistar, next to maybe Kalista Kennen, are the really two strong Kalista duos. Alistar, if you're looking for the roaming game, and honestly with how well Ignar has played Alistar all season and specifically in the previous game, if you want to default to the Alistar, it's fine, or you can go for Kennen for the absolute 2v2 lane supremacy.
Certainly can. Elise not in the picture anymore, so it will be perhaps an Evelyn pick. Gotta believe that the Rek'Sai might be a little bit higher priority, but they could go for more disengage. With the Gragas pickup, we've seen Chelly play Vayne, so they could do something like Victor Gragas Vayne here. That would be a pretty big change in direction to what we saw in the last game that they played.
Yeah, but when you see the W from Victor, the potential for all the disengage of both Braum and Gragas, you're expecting squishy mid laner, squishy AD carry. So Varus Vayne would not be super surprising double lock-ins. Actually, no, not the Varus, I guess, because of the Victor mid, but we are expecting some form of hyper carry from the AD carry role.
Yeah, certainly are. And Yasuo being teased here. Yasuo frequently banned against the Dark Wolves in that final series by Ever.
Top lane Yasuo, Expression looking for some more carry tops.
I think you just take the Diana here and save that top lane pick. You know Expression can dominate.
Yeah!
All right, the Echo.
This is what we like to see, the mid lane assassin. I'm always a bit worried to call an assassin because you more often see the ult used for utility defensively or for getting back to lane than necessarily for assassination. But this is a matchup that Frozen has tried twice. One time he really pulled off, the other time Team Comp kind of fell around him, but he really likes Echo against Victor, and I want to see him make me a believer.
So we will see the Ashe now locked in, so no Vayne, a little bit of a surprise there. Feeling comfortable with the Ashe into that Kalista matchup, certainly a bit dicey, and they could just blind pick the very safe Gnar, but Maokai does provide a little bit more crowd control in the laning phase, especially. It's Hecarim again, Papa Smithy.
They love the Hecarim. Blind pick Hecarim all the days. That's what Cube did, to the point where that Ever versus Dark Wolves Challenger final Hecarim got to first pick status, blind pick. They just love this champion in Challenger, apparently. I feel like every scene kind of has their trademark champion, NALCS. It's probably Tristana, a champion that really, you see a lot of Tristana there. Feels like, in the Challenger scene at least, still really highly prioritizing Hecarim on 515.
Yeah, a little odd, for sure. And what is Expression's answer? He found a good one in the Gangplank last game. He can always just run Gnar here and go for Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, and absolutely dominate the Hecarim in the split push.
Maokai would mean another setup CC for the parallel convergence, so maybe that will be the choice. It is picking for team comp, for team fight, rather than necessarily the jungle synergy between, say, a jungle Echo and a top lane Maokai, but it is the lock-in. Not the highest damage lineup from Longzhu IM, but if Frozen goes off, I think a lot of potential in this comp from IM.
Yeah, it's very interesting that Frozen ended this season of Champions Summer thinking that Echo was the answer to the victor. And again, another TP, and I really like the strategy from IM. Again, you're coming into this series where you know that you are the more experienced team on the map in terms of macro play. Well, just have a bunch of double globals available for your team. Take that Diana, take that Echo, and just play around making better decisions. I think it's a great strategy to keep a more amateur team at bay.
And when you're dealing with a champion like Ashe, whose initiation, whose pick potential with the Ashe Arrow is so powerful, but doesn't have the strongest laning phase in terms of harass, you are actually able to be flexible enough to take the cleanse. We've seen a few AD carries do this. Sunstar's doing it on the Kalista. You don't respect the trading as much from Ashe, so take that summon. Two Dark Horse crews trying to get a chat going. Result is a bit of a muffle, unfortunately, as we're loading into game 2 here in IM. Low damage comp potentially, specifically if Frozen gets behind, but still, I really love to see people mess around, dabble with this Echo in the mid lane. It's 515, so the Echo changes, taking away the base values, really loading the damage and utility on AP. Makes it a really interesting proposition for Frozen.
Right, and you know, we look at not that many players playing Echo. Rookie on IG, notably like the big, scary Echo mid player in the world. And he's shown that you can do a lot of work on this particular champion.
If you haven't seen some of those Echo performances, go to the highlight videos, because my goodness.
Echo versus Yasuo with Rookie, you're welcome.
That's the best.
There he is. There is Frozen as Echo. Got himself a nice little Echo sword. Is it a bat? I don't really know.
I'm a really big fan of the new skin. I don't think it's available in 515, but he has a cricket bat in the new skin, which, you know.
What's it called? Terrible Sport Echo?
Excuse me. We've talked about cricket on this broadcast before, Monte Cristo. I don't like talking about cricket anymore.
I'm sorry. It wasn't soccer. You're right. It was cricket. I just made all the Europeans mad.
Wow. Equal opportunity discrimination from the American here about our beloved sports. What do you got against polo? You got something against polo as well?
No, I played polo in college.
Yeah, you would play polo. You named yourself Monte Cristo. Of course you play polo. Oh, dear. I don't talk about the cricket anymore. We lost the Ashes to England, so it's a bit of a no-no topic in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for you.
It's not good.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Put it in the not good column as commentators.
I guess. It's our Korean commentators, actually. They look like very confused animals.
I mean, this is a scenario where Longzhu IM are by far the favorites. That's pretty confusing if you've been following champions outside of the promotion tournament, where they are the gods of promotion.
They are, and you know, they turned in a decent performance in that last game. Certainly showing that they have a lot more poise in this Dark Wolves team right now, and we'll see that Hecarim head up to the top lane with the teleport. Maokai will be following him up shortly thereafter, so Expression choosing a very different approach this game than the carry approach, and we'll see what Frozen can do. I am very curious, but the crowd control and all-ins in this bottom lane, if we have two TPs down there, are going to be pretty scary for Chelly and Jelly.
Just, yeah, with the fact of the teleport as well, the fact that Maokai can teleport in with a targeted engage, Alistair, of course, has excellent engage himself. Even Kalista can help throw in and empower the Alistair to make a play. Chelly and Jelly, this bot lane that likes to play aggressive, that likes to overextend for an advantage. You cannot overextend against triple global, because remember Rek'Sai has a soft global as well, and Kalista Alistair, a very strong laning duo as well.
Well, just everybody who can come down there has some form of crowd control, major crowd control, AoE crowd control, in fact, so could be quite deadly if IM decides that there's going to be a time to 5-man stack into that bottom side and make an epic dive. That's what I'm hoping we see, Baba Smithy.
I'm looking for the epic outplays. Every time I see Echo mid, I expect them. We all saw the champ spotlight and thought, is it Faker time with this champion? We still haven't seen the Faker Echo. That's really the tantalizing one for me, the combination of player and champion that I really want to see go off in a top-level game. Maybe Worlds time.
Maybe Worlds time, indeed. We'll see how Faker feels about that Echo pick when that tournament begins in October. So Tucson just heading down for a little bit of checking in the enemy jungle right now. Kravevi on the other side. But he's going to know that after seeing all those camps cleared.
So the last time we cast together, I talked about a doomsday future where teleport mid lane was all the rage and it crowded out every other summoner. And we're seeing it again, we're seeing it more commonly, and it opens up split pushes like the Diana. I guess Echo probably has a deft hand and also doing some split pushing himself. I'm not going to ask you about future soothsaying just this time. What I want to know, Monte Cristo, is what do you do against the double teleport? What is the actual optimal way of dealing with these laners that can farm from range, even as melee champions like Diana and Echo, but don't take that combat summoner in the teleport?
I mean, you have to push them in, I think, is the answer to keep them bottled up in that mid lane, and you have to be very ready to roam. We've seen recently, actually, the QG versus IG series when IG went 3-0, even though QG was running teleport Lulu in the mid lane, and what IG was doing is just roaming faster with that Victor, keeping Doinb pushed up in that mid lane on the Lulu, and it became very effective. So push up, just motion down to the bottom lane, and if the Lulu commits, you're sitting there with Victor with an Ignite, and the Lulu is sitting there with Teleport and dying at level 6. So,
would you say the key factor there is a champion like Victor that has that immediate backline clearing with the one item? So of course Victor gets that Hex Core upgrade and will always have optimal pushing capabilities. But what happens if you're actually bottled up with a champion that doesn't have instant wave clear? Are you just at the whim of the enemy mid laner?
I think that's why you don't pick champions like that. I mean, if we look at the meta, you either are dealing with a lot of wave clear like Azira Victor, or you're dealing with, to a certain degree, teleport picks. So
I wonder if come Worlds time people try teleport Kassadin in this spot against a champion like Victor.
I think Kassadin is bad.
I don't heavily disagree, but there are other scenes that think he's really good. And with teleport,
he's so vulnerable to pushing, and he's too item dependent right now, in my opinion.
I feel like that is an argument that isn't solved or settled right now. I feel like the Chinese teams will find a way to make Kassadin a viable pick at Worlds. There's tradition, Monte Cristo.
I disagree with you, but we will see. I think they'll play him. I just don't think it'll be proved viable.
Well, they can make an argument for it. It just might be wrong. For the record, I also, as you well know, am very skeptical about Kassadin, but when you're talking about mid laners that can teleport in and create an impact, Kassadin's certainly near the top of the list.
As long as he actually has combat stats to a certain degree, and that just takes time to build up. So I think that's the big difference right there. It's the more immediate power of some of these other teleport mid laners. And Frozen not going to have too much immediate power this time with that Negatron cloak first. Just a little bit of farming right here, and using that phase dive to get out of some of those trades.
Jelly's actually motioned, but only defensively to relieve pressure from Kyle. Nobody in the bot lane. This is the meta we're in. Everyone leaves.
Yep, everybody shows up, throws some wards down, sees the Rek'Sai, walks away.
Communication around that must be crazy, because what do you reckon is the percentage time spent in a 2v2 for a support in this current meta? Maybe 30% the laning phase, of which 80% is during the first 5 minutes?
No, at least 50%. That's not true.
It is fun, though, even in solo queue. The fact that you're not shackled next to your AD carry as a support like Soraka makes this meta just that much more fun for the support.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot better from that regard. More dynamic to watch, that's for sure. But it does also create situations like this where Chelly has to go back and instead of overextending by himself while his support goes off on a warding mission. Doesn't have to fall back. Frozen will be donated this blue buff quite easily. And there's an arrow heading up towards Expression. And there we go. He's going to come in with that Onslaught of Shadows. There's the Twisted Advance and the Arcane Smash to knock the members back. Expression has to use his flash alongside his ultimate to get out of that gank. So a bit of success there, but no Ignite used from Cube, not assuming he was going to pick up that kill. Instead, just getting the Summoner and saving that one for later.
Ignar looking for the tower dive.
And there's Ignar coming in. Jelly already with the Ignite burning onto him. And there we go. Not quite going to get it. Potion going down, and the Prey Seeker is going to miss. Tucson wants to go for this one. You cannot do that. Cube already there. There's the Ignite, and he's going to fall in a really questionable engage. Frozen and Kyle duking it out. But Tucson just giving up that first blood for free, and Ignar going to die too. Finally, we see Expression coming in. Are they going to be able to turn this around? Jelly wrapped up by the Twisted Advance. Frozen is here too. They're trying to go on to Jelly. Jelly's still low, but he's going to get that volley off. Expression's going to die to the Chaos Storm, and that is another kill. 4 for 1 in an absolutely atrocious play made by LZIM.
Such an overcommit, and just at staggered times. Right after the initial engage, Tucson goes in and gets blown up. Then we start to see teleports being channeled. Expression was so late in reacting to that engage. I'm not 100% sure whether he had teleport, though I believe he did, and the communication from IM was all at sea in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely awful. I mean, just starting there, getting overly greedy to finish off that kill, which they didn't quite get onto Jelly, and then just filing one by one into their doom. So that's going to be about 1,000 gold and a dragon advantage for Dark Wolves right now. I mean, Jelly low and just sidestepping the Prey Seeker, and this is where Tucson starts seeing red.
But I mean, he should see the Hecarim standing right there next to a Braum. Of course they're going to go in. The Ignite was still up. Good use of Summoners holding onto that for Jelly, and this is just comedy of errors from Longshu IM. One by one they go. Maokai only now channeling his teleport with 2 members effectively dead as Cube. He's got all the gold. He should still survive.
Yeah, he definitely should. There's just not enough damage between the Maokai. Oh, arrow coming through again. To punish any overcommitment there, Tucson decides not to go so far in this time around.
But what, of course, was the most important factor there, Monte Cristo? 202 was that Hecarim newly bought the Home Guard Merc Treads. He probably would not have had gold for the parts of that Phage, you know, with the Ruby Crystal and the Longsword, and the extra items is why he survived that gank from Tucson.
Well, Cube getting that early start this time. So we'll see what he can do with a little bit more impressive laning phase and an early edge.
And let's see what Dark Wolves can do with a much better early game, much cleaner. Of course, most of that is the misplays of the enemy team rather than anything special Dark Wolves has done, but we're hoping that there's a series, or at least one game this series, where Dark Wolves can show us why they were the first place team in the Challenge League. We can Challenge League, as you mentioned. The big factor for anyone joining us late is that, of course, the league with the subs from the main teams is separate to the league that these teams fight in. So a lot of the talent is bottled up in, say, the Jin Air B team. Of course, Jin Air went on to win that OGN Challenger League too. But this is the talent that's left over, and they're just trying to make an impression against an IM team that blew them away in Game 1, but is certainly showing us why they finished second last in Champions.
In spite of the edge that they have, though, it's not too much for a 3-kill advantage. I mean, we're looking at just a little bit over 1,000 gold right here.
And in the late game, it's linear team fighting. It's, okay, we have a Victor Ashe, hit that arrow and going for the fight, and Frozen's got teleport, Expression's got teleport. Even Tucson can create headaches with the ultimate. So the rotational play might once again be the undoing of the Dark Wolves.
It's something they can certainly always fall back on here. And they should be able to deal with the Hecarim in the late game. We'll see whose job that's going to be. And there's an arrow coming through yet again.
Will it hit Maokai?
Not going to. Oh, no. He knew it was coming, though. Tucson saw it. So another miss right there. They're really just fishing for these enchanted crystal arrows right now.
This is real preseason 1 play, which, of course, leads us to wonder, once again, where do the arrows go? Where do they go, Monte Cristo?
Well, I think that Summoner's Rift is on top of some mountain if we look at the new art for the Rift in the background.
Yep.
So I guess they just fly over the land at a very high elevation until they hit another mountain.
Do you think there's a mountain with just loads of Ashe arrows? Speaking of arrows.
Yeah, Sonstar gonna have to flash out of this one. Can he hop away in time? And there's an explosive cast, not gonna finish him off. Cube is there though with the TP play, and that's going to be secured. Expression can't follow up. And Ignar going to get dove underneath this turret, and that's going to be another kill for Cube.
And Hecarim is now massive. Throw out what I said about the nerfs. When you have this massive early start, when the Triforce is a snowball Triforce and you can get tanky much earlier, all those things are out the doors. Just like if Sejuani shows up with 4 kills in the early game, you can be that force so much earlier.
Well, Tucson just going to decide to die too here as they will dive him. He gets a little bit greedy when there are still 3 people there. Tucson playing very disrespectfully this game.
They should just be trading on their superior macro play, Montecristo, but they're going for very questionable micro skirmishes and getting punished, as they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Expression has to deal with this very fed Hecarim, and he doesn't have any armor. He's going for the Righteous Glory first.
Yeah.
So there's not really a way he's going to be able to stop this split push. We haven't seen a lot of good TP play, and Dark Wolves, they took advantage of that TP timer. They had an edge on that particular ability, and they used it. Expression's late TP kind of rippling out into the next play as well.
1,700 gold is the lead between Hecarim and Maokai. And remember, Maokai's building for teamfights, he's building that Righteous Glory. He's well behind in terms of stats and just really can't deal with this Hecarim. And maybe there's a timer on this game to some degree, because this Hecarim, someone's going to need to answer. Maybe it'll be Frozen when he finishes the Zhonya's, but for now, this Hecarim reigns supreme in the split push.
It definitely does, and Dark Wolves trying to snowball this advantage, moving that Ashe to the mid lane, setting up for a very nice siege, and the wave clear just really isn't there for LZIM. They have Time Winder, and that's about it.
Yeah, the Q from Echo, much like Diana's, is decent wave clear, but you need to have something to support it, and Kalista does not provide that. Maokai, I guess, maybe has the base between the sapling and the Q, and of course the Echo wave clear, they can maybe clear wards, but Maokai's not grouped.
Yeah, Ignar just going to come in with a zoning headbutt. Not going to work, though. Frozen coming in with the parallel convergence. Tucson already there. Curvavy is the first to fall, and now we see the TP from Expression. Cube already here, though. And what are they going to be able to do with this one? Ignar not going to fall, so it's a 1-for-0. Can they actually save the turret? A lot of Dark Wolves members still at max HP.
Exactly. Specifically the Ashe as well, who has the poke. Doesn't have a lot of mana, but Cube being full health.
Tucson's going to come back in.
Risky.
Here he goes, parallel convergence. They're going to catch out Nara Kyle right in the front line. There's the Hecarim ult, though. And how much are they going to be able to get? Big death ray across the troops. And Chelly nearly going to fall thanks to the chrono shift. That was a great ult from Frozen.
Yeah, really big damage. You can see he's been practicing this champion because his mechanics are very sound on Echo. And it's only an Abyssal Scepter Sorcerer's Shoes Echo. But finally we see assassination potential from that ult. But that was crazy burst damage.
That was a very good ult from Echo. You usually don't see them used effectively.
Or even aggressively.
Yeah, aggressively, yeah, effectively. And that time he bought his 4 seconds. Let's take a look at this fight once again.
Gets the shield as well, which is the important factor, but wait for the use of the ultimate. That's the big factor, of course. How gets the kill on Alistair, but wait for this Echo Chrono Shift. Huge burst damage. There was a turret shot as well, but they take down Ashe, and that actually does buy them extra time with this outer mid turret.
It's always a mystery to me, the Echo players who can hit that, because it's so hard to tell in a team fight where your shadow is.
It's hard enough to keep track of, say, the Orianna ball for some team, that a shadow that can really be overshadowed, which is ironic to say, but can really be just a hard thing to keep track of graphically in a really busy team fight with lots of AoE ults going off. Allows plays like that, and was only level 10, now is level 11. That burst is only going to get bigger.
Another Dragon over to the Dark Wolves will be uncontested by Incredible Miracle. They're looking to make up the gold deficit right now by killing the top lane turret.
Look at
they
the
have an
difference,
advantage.
Hecarim versus Maokai is just unbelievable difference in items.
Yeah. Righteous Glory compared to Trinity Force. Home Guard Merc Treads. They're going to go for a pick onto Chelly right here. Not going to get it. Ignar actually bounces Chelly away.
Have Dark Wolves learned about fighting against this Echo Shadow? Initial impression is yes, but bigger sample size required.
Yes, much larger sample size. Dark Wolves going to push in, take the mid tier 1, and find themselves with a very healthy 4K gold lead. even though they did trade turret for turret, and they're starting to stack those dragons. They've got a couple of them early. They're going to be hitting nice timing if they want to go for 5 stacks on that dragon. And LZIM, they've got to do something here because their composition, relatively low damage, and they're already behind.
And the old meta, the Maokai top, the pure tank top laner, this is where Hecarim rose, this is where Hecarim can still shine. Of course, a lot of that is because his item timings were hilariously accelerated. 20-21 minutes is when we often see just the Trinity Force. You know, if you're going to skip out on the Merc Tread home guards. But both of them completed is more of a factor in team fights with that big burst damage from the home guard and the Trinity Force than even the Maokai is with the Righteous Glory Rush. So Hecarim definitely looking uniquely, I think, maybe even singularly, given where the meta is going with carry top laners, as a massive threat this game.
Yeah. No question about that at this stage. It's just whether Cube can deliver on that. One of the harder things to do in the current game is to effectively split push, even if you have this kind of advantage, without giving up some important objectives on the other side of the map, playing with enough pressure, yet still playing safely enough that you're not collapsed on as you try and push towards a tier 2 or an inhibitor turret. So that's what Dark Wolves need to show now.
The fun question is, what does Echo versus Hecarim in a split push situation look like? Because the Maokai doesn't look like he's going to be relied upon to answer. Maybe if he's just sitting under his turret wave clearing, he'll do fine. But I feel like at some point we'll get that scenario where Teleport Echo, who doesn't have necessarily a load of items in gold, but is doing just fine for himself in Frozen, will go against a fairly free-farmed fed Hecarim. That will be just interesting to watch.
It certainly will. So TuSin helping out with some wave clear in the mid lane. They just want to make a move right now, see if they can finish off that. Nope, phase dive. Easily able to dodge that one out. Seeing if they could perhaps take the last few hits on the mid turret. See right now, I am just trying to apply pressure and avoid these fights. They have 2 teleports up though, so they could try and pick up some kills onto his side lane if they so chose.
Let's return to the no damage argument against the Longzhu IM comp. Remember, it is Echo and Kalista, and Echo's already shown and shone in terms of doing damage in a previous fight, but it is Bloodthirster first return from Sunstar. We've been seeing so much more Blade of the Ruin King into Hurricane Rush. The Bloodthirster, the safer choice, but now we're really talking about scenarios where Frozen gets the job done, or things look really worrying, at least until an extended team fight and the Hurricane comes through from Sunstar.
Yep, and now Dark Wolves will be grouping in the top side of the map, just completing their circuit of tier 1 turrets, and there's just no wave clear up here. Echo now coming back out of the base with some home guard boots, and Expression slowly, ever so slowly, pushing out on Maokai. Dark Wolves have to be careful though. They don't want to give up their mid turret. They decide to assign Cube into that mid lane.
It's not that they have to turret dive though. Sunstar can only do so much trying to even feign pressure. Chelly's playing very, very defensively after spotting TuSin, so they're not going to get this turret just yet.
LCIM just trying to buy time right now. They do see Frozen with a ward moving up, and Expression has gotten a little bit of a minion wave going here, so LCIM just trying to delay them long enough that they can trade. Here comes a TP.
Teleport from Maokai doesn't have home guards, no turret to return to.
And is he actually going to get over the wall right now? He has a really long way to run, and that means TuSin's just going to die. So at best right now it's a 4v5. Frozen just going to get punted out, and then ultimated by Hecarim, has that parallel convergence, doesn't even land for the shield. Expression chose a very poor place to TP to. There was just no follow-up.
They're just so defensive at teleport. The call must have been very scattered. I don't know if it's Expression's fault or the team in terms of initiating that fight. They didn't have the wards to do it. Now Baron started, and what can Longzhu IM really do to contest it?
Well, they still have Maokai, they still have Kalista. They're going to have to try and fight this one. Expression already down to nearly dead, but the members of Dark Wolves low. Can they actually finish this Baron? I don't think so. TuSin back up. So
Big
they
success,
delayed it.
Yeah.
They delayed it.
One death for delaying a 21-minute Baron is definitely pass marks from IM. That might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. That might have actually been enough to snowball Dark Wolves into breaking the base and taking this game. Look at that kill score, 12-3. Next Dragon in 45 seconds, still probably going to go to Dark Wolves, but only reason IM are still in touching distance is denying that Baron.
Yeah, and they trade 1 kill and a Baron denial for the mid lane turret too, so at least they get some gold here to keep them somewhat relevant in this game. But man, Cube's Hecarim is very scary. So is Kyle's Victor.
6-0-4. Soon to be Frozen Heart to follow up the items that Cube had already purchased. Cube is crazy, crazy strong, and Frozen's going to have to make us a believer soon because it's really all on him. Specifically, the Hurricane still not done on Sunstar.
That's just expression, too. He has really not a lot of armor, not a lot of magic resist. He's just melting right now. And there's not really much that can be done about that until he can just simply get some more farm, some more items. And here we go, another dragon. 23 minutes for Dark Wolves. We'll set them up for about a 35-minute fifth dragon. That is a pretty nice timing for them if it goes late.
Worrying scenarios where you're talking about a Maokai melting to an Ashe, a 180 carry item Ashe. Remember, Ashe will definitely hits her stride in terms of damage, but it's much later than most champions, so very concerning that even this early in the game, Dark Wolves are finding a very fast path through expression.
Shelly just getting free hits on the turret right now. The wave clear just isn't there for Incredible Miracle. Very slowly time-winding the minion wave. But that takes about 3/4 of the health of the Tier 2 off, as Dark Wolves doing a very good job at snowballing out this game, but honestly, with LCIM's composition, there's not really a lot they can do to stop it.
Definitely a return to familiarity for Dark Wolves. They got away with playing aggressively. Okay, a lot on LoNgJo in terms of mistakes. We see the W activated, but no initiation. They're looking for the turret.
Gonna get frozen with the arrow, and there we have a huge ultimate coming through. Has to use that chrono shift early, and there we go, grabbing Ignar out and sending him right back in to the melee. They take out Curvavy, but everyone's so low, they're definitely losing the turret now.
They won't be able to kite back to Baron, which they might have been able to do if all their members had lived, but in this scenario, they will get the mid turret, even tanking it up to get it a little bit faster. Probably didn't need to do that, but did it anyway. Won't get the top turret, though, but objective complete for Dark Wolves, and Dark Wolves' control over Dragon was what really stood by him, as even in their one loss, in their 3-1 win over Ever in that Challengers final, they were very on point in terms of Dragon control, and they've basically been gifted that because there's been no pressure on the map from LoNgJo after that really ill-advised 1-by-1 skirmish earlier in the game.
Oh, it's just such a puzzler, though, because Dark Wolves, they haven't really shown a lot of ability to play from behind. When you give them these early advantages, they can be punishing. They can just shove these waves through and set up for it. And if you're IM, all you have to do with 2 teleports is sit there and wait for them to make a mistake. There's no reason to have such poor dive play like we saw in the bottom side of the map earlier, and now it's very difficult for them to win this game.
Teleport hits its stride much later than other summoner spell combinations. So when you're running double teleport on a champion like Diana, on a champion like Echo, a couple of items in, you just set up those scenarios where it's lose-lose for the enemy who just can't react. There's no way to out-rotate a Rek'Sai, Maokai, Echo triple teleport trio, but they managed to find themselves in such a hole where they just really aren't able to set up any minion pressure because they're just out-dueled everywhere by the Hecarim.
Very difficult to figure out what to do in that particular situation when they've already made the choices that they have and dedicated themselves to what in the first game was a very effective double teleport. Now they could still wait until the late game, but even then their late game damage is not particularly impressive.
IM have dictated this series. In Game 1, aggressively. In Game 2, dictated their own loss, you feel like, at least at this point. And certainly the hole they find themselves in 26 minutes in.
Dark Wolves, if they want to keep it up, though, have to make this lead even bigger. They're still waiting for about another 3 minutes on a Dragon, and we haven't seen that Hecarim split push be set up very effectively. They're not getting the deep wards in that they need to really pressure Tier 2s right now with this super fed Hecarim.
Actually, from what I've seen of both Ever and Dark Wolves, Ever has been the better team at pushing up aggressive wards. They were good at getting picks even when they were behind in games. Dark Wolves feels like they played pretty much the deathmatch style, looking to force fights. Teams more willing to opt into fights in the Challenger series than they are in Champions, which is traditionally a very defensive, objective-focused league. And so they just haven't really been a team that's been able to identify that as a win condition. You wouldn't say their side wave control was above par compared to any other team in Korea.
Yeah, certainly not. And there's just no wards in the IM jungle now, and part of that has been good pink placement, as we can see from Incredible Miracle, just laying those down, especially in the upper jungle. But Dark Wolves has been trying to set up picks in the mid-river brush. They haven't really had any deep warding missions in, and this is actually stalling them out right now in a very concerning fashion. There's eyes on Dragon for IM. We see Maokai getting farmed. They're keeping all their turrets up right now, so this is buying a significant amount of time for Incredible Miracle.
When we see these lower placed teams play against better teams.
Uh-oh. Hecarim may be in a bit of trouble here. Cube actually pushing too far forward. There are 4 people in this side of the jungle. They know Cube is alone. Oh, they could have made a play right there for sure.
They must have just guessed that there were more green defensive wards than they actually were. Maybe they outthought themselves. There's a teleport.
And here come the TP. Sunstar already there. Jelly going to pop down the Glacial Fissure. Get a knock up. They're going to try and back off. They force Cube to use that TP, but 2 TPs already used by LZIM. And I don't know why you'd make a play on the mid lane. There's a Chrono Shift getting Frozen a little bit of health back. Now, can he actually live? They're on to Jelly. Jelly not going to die, though. Expression has to flash into the Dragon Pit, and the chase continuing on the top side. Sunstar managed to die to Cube, but a baffling decision from Incredible Miracle. They could have absolutely made a play onto the Hecarim and chose not to.
And the worrying thing for IM is they're fighting on 2 fronts, and in the back front, the Hecarim is strong enough to go 1v3, kill the enemy AD carry, and still occupy the time of both the jungler and the support. And the other side of the coin, that's what Frozen tried to do, doesn't have the items, isn't snowballed, 15-4, and now the inhibitor down, and the 3-0 predictions are starting to look like they're not going to come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely not with this kind of gold lead and the base broken already. And we do see that Dragon going to be coming up right now unless Tucson can manage to take it away. Victor's still here, so there's an outside shot that they could actually pick this up with Expression spawning with home guards right now.
It is, however, Super Minions pushing in mid, but for now they're quite equalized, not going to be hitting onto the Nexus turrets anytime imminently. Ashe is coming from spawn with most of a Last Whisper, but Victor certainly will not be at this Dragon if it started now.
Yep, and here we go. It is going to be started. Now how fast can they burn it down? Frozen doing some work on that, but it's still going rather slowly. But with the Callista, there's not going to be really a chance of a steal right here as it gets full as...
Oh dear. Now that was a mistake. You can talk, Monty. So you're not on camera, but Monty was in a daze as he watched the Dragon be stolen by a volley.
A volley? I mean, Smite was up. Ren was up.
Smite was used, actually.
Interesting. I mean, I am just absolutely falling apart here, and there's a Baron taken by Dark Wolves.
You never want to say that a team engineered their own downfall. You always want to give credit to the winning team and say it was their plays, but IM has really made this game difficult for themselves, at the minimum.
Yeah, certainly. Dark Wolves has kind of run with it, but IM just tripping multiple times in the race here. This promotion match, and this isn't the IM that we normally see strong IM in the promotions. There were some worrying signs last game, but it was still a quick one. But now, Dark Wolves coming back and looking like they're going to be able to easily close this out.
Late game mistakes from IM came so much earlier in this second game of this series, and they've been their own engineer of their own downfall as far as we can tell, and now Sunstar, Bloodthirster Hurricane, about 10 minutes too late. And Frozen's been doing his best, but it's pretty much a solo hand when it comes to even occupying the backline because Maokai is nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, here comes the siege again. LZIM is going to have to fully engage to break this if they want to have any hope of continuing this game of League of Legends, but Victor in the mid lane right now.
Hecarim's basically a god on the side.
The backline threat is absolutely massive.
They'll take this turret. It's another outer turret. Minions are pushing aggressively. Of course, the mid inhibitor's been down for a while, and they'll keep pushing. It's slow, but it's thorough, and it's effective play by the Dark Wolves.
Yeah, why not just go for this right now? Hecarim just staying out of sight for as long as he can. He absolutely has that opportunity to get a good ult over the wall if he can find a target. Meantime, Baron Power minions doing their job, and somebody's going to have to go deal with super minions in the mid lane eventually.
Look at that cannon smashing away. Baron Cannon Minion is always the MVP of these sieges.
It's already done maybe 10% of the turret's HP.
Look, Ashe has 600 range now. Doesn't have flash available, so has to be very defensive in her positioning. But you know who doesn't need to be defensive is Cube. who's pretty much looking to apply pressure all on his own.
Right, and make sure that those Nexus turrets are going to take some damage. Tucson actually gets massively chunked by the rampaging Hecarim. Try and kill him right now. He has to ult out of the base, so a bit of an overcommitment. Now they got some damage onto that turret.
Remember, this turret, these inhibitor turrets do actually have a life gain if you leave them away, so they really want to come away from this siege with the inhibitor turret, and the MVP is doing pretty good work. There's Baron Cannon minion. Oh, there's a second one. It's all over. Twice the pain.
Cube just waiting for his TP. No, he actually is going to.
Someone should be defending these minions.
Yeah, trot out of the base. Somebody needs to zone him out, absolutely. Curvavy's there, and Ignar on the front line going to pop his ult early. Curvavy gets caught actually in the back. Remember, there is no Hecarim here right now. Arrow comes through, they catch Frozen. Zonia's Hourglass triggered, and he's going to die shortly thereafter. Nice chrono shift actually gets out of that fight. Ignar on his way back in right now, and are we going to see Cube here? Yes, he finally enters the fray. And Sonstar will fall to Jelly for a double kill, and now this should be the end of game 2. Dark Wolves going to tie up this series 1-1 in a 33-minute game, and they were pretty dominant here from start to finish, but LZIM making a lot of errors.
Yeah, a lot of the same compliments we paid IM can be played to the Dark Wolves. Okay, IM gave them a foundation at the start of the game, but from there, Dark Wolves really ran with it. Okay, made a couple of errors in not contesting enemy red and blue buffs with some smart warding, but whenever they could opt into fights with the item leads they've been granted, mechanics are on point, team fighting was on point, and comfortable victory for this challenger team.
Yeah, so will that victor be allowed in the next game? I think it's going to be a big question mark here, and I agree with IM's composition with their intent with the double teleport going into this series, but man, was it poorly executed in that last one, and Dark Wolves able